Buenos dias everyone and welcome to the channel. I'm Emmanuel, I'm an Airbus pilot and welcome to our next flight. Today we are going on the Iberia A350-900 from Madrid down to Rio de Janeiro. This is actually first time on this channel flying into Rio de Janeiro, at least into the big airport. We did the small one in the past. So I'm really excited for this one. Follow me inside and we can start to set our A350 up for today's service. Now for the sceneries, we are using Latin VFR's Madrid scenery, which I actually really like. And over in Rio de Janeiro, we are using the standard Asobo handcrafted scenery, which actually got an upgrade in Flight Simulator 2024 and is looking pretty good, we have to give it that. Well, and that's going to be our setup for the day. Now, for all the standard operating procedures that we're going to use in today's video, please refer to my tutorials, as I see these line flying videos more as a sort of demonstration of what the aircraft can do rather than a full-blown tutorial. Alright, so with that out of the way, we have started the aircraft on external power. We have checked our batteries. Now we can tune the radio panels. Alright, pretty much like this. Make sure that we can also hear something, but let's not blast our ears away. So speaker is set to something decent. And then we've got the aircraft powered. Now let's go ahead and do the recall for 3 seconds down here. And here we go. And the dispatch page not implemented just yet. So, fire test is looking good, and then let's go ahead and start up that APU, because we do want to get the air conditioning going. Alright, with these out of the way, we can head right over into our electronic flight bag, import our SimBrief flight plan, and then we can have a quick look into the flight plan, which I'm going to do using the full screen version over from SimBrief and the PDF version. Alright, so here's what it looks like. This is today's flight, pretty much 10 hours in a straight line, but those are going to be some interesting 10 hours. So let's start down here on the significant weather chart. We are departing Madrid to the south, and just about when we're crossing the coastline, there are a couple of CBs up to flight level 250, so not a problem. We can just fly over at those and no problem. Then we're crossing an opposite jet stream with a core in flight level 360, so that's going to be full headwind there. And we do have a CAT area associated with that as well, number 5, that's moderate turbulence to flight level 400, so that's certainly something we got to pay attention to. Once we've passed Sal down here, we are going to continue out onto the Atlantic Ocean, where we are crossing the intertropical convergence zone. Yes, that one again. And you can see this one is a huge area with occasional CBs up to flight level 490, so most definitely this is going to be problematic. We might need to deviate a little bit over there, so we might consider some extra fuel for flying through this. Last but not least, we're getting a final 3 hours or so, which are going to be fairly easy until we start our approach into Rio. If we look into the airport weather, we can see loads of SIGMETs already. And then looking into the airport itself, Madrid, good conditions, and then our destination in Rio has perfect flying conditions today as well, our alternate in Sao Paulo as well. So the only extra fuel that we might want to take is going to be because of the potential to either fly a little bit faster in case we grab some delay, which I don't estimate today, or for a little bit of weather deviation in the intertropical convergence zone, and that is really what I'm worried about. For that I want to have 20 minutes extra. So we do have a contingency here, 18 minutes, then let's take another 2,000 kilos, leading us to 73.5 standard, so 75.5, and I will be happy with that. You know, when you see areas as large as this one, just don't mess with it. Take the fuel it needs so that you don't have to take any risks and can just fly around it all. So 75.5 is the amount of fuel that we want to take on today's service. Let's go ahead and import our data from SimBrief. So 75,500 is our fuel. Set the 0 fuel weight and set the fuel down here. Here we go. Takeoff performance, we can do that nice and simple. Import everything. 36 left is correct. Full length is correct. config 1, air conditioning off, that all looks good. Compute the takeoff data and we can see we get some pretty high speeds over here. Let's actually consider doing a config 2 takeoff. Well, it gives us the same high speeds at 44 degrees flex. Not gonna go config 3 for this. But config 2 gives us a much better flex temperature, so let's go ahead and go for that one. That really saves a little bit of money there. Here we go. So, for our charts, we are going to use Navigraph charts on today's flight. We do want to choose between the two every now and then. So we're going to take an airport chart, and then we're also going to take a parking chart, which is that one over here. Alright, so parking stand terminal 4. For departure then, we are going to depart via the Victor Tango Bravo 6 Lima departure today. So let's find that one. VTB 6 Lima, when you see it, you let me know. Here it is. Alright, and that one's pinned as well. Last but not least, let's also go for the radar minimums. And then the last thing I want to take is the en route chart, and since that one has a little bit of a problem loading over time, let's just go ahead and zoom out a bit here already so that it just preloads all of that stuff already. Here we go. Now we have it in the database. Now, if we just zoom back in again, it will be available later on during the flight. Alrighty, and that's our EFB set up. Now let's go ahead and check that we have sufficient operating quantities here. The oxygen is looking good, rain repellent is looking good. For the hydraulics, yeah, that's okay. And then for the engine oil, let's turn on the FADEX and see what we are eventually going to get here. So 19.9 on both sides, that's wonderful. So they did refill it before the crew arrived at the aircraft. Beautiful. Alright, so with that out of the way, we can go right into the cockpit preparation. Refueling is complete, so the signs can go all on. Fuel pumps left to right, always remember that. And we don't have any temperature sensitive cargo, so the cargo temperature control can go off in the forward side. That saves some 0.8% of fuel, which can easily amount to a couple $100 here on a flight like this. QNH 1017 is set, and then down here frequencies 122 800 and 121 500, like this. Down here everything is already set, and that's it. Wonderful. Okay, so we have an odd flight number, so we are going to go for system number 1 today, and with that let's go right into the FMS. A350-900, we do know that already. So, company flight plan request. And in the meantime, let me also open the flight plan for you guys over here, so that we can have a look at both simultaneously. And here we go. Alright, receive flight plan and insert. Iberia 269er, Madrid to Rio de Janeiro, alternate Sao Paulo, Throttle 350, that's correct. Then the outside temperature is -52, and the tropopause initially in 33,000 feet. Like that, we can request our wind data. Average headwind 48 knots, that's actually quite a bit today. Our IRSs are enough, perfect. Then, for our departure, we are going off runway 36 left. And we said we have the Victor Tango Bravo 6 Lima departure today. So, temporary and insert. And now for the arrival into Rio, we'll just enter what we are expecting for the time being. And they planned runway 10. With an ILS approach, I'll just insert uniform for the time being, and the UTBOM 2 Alpha arrival. Here we go, arriving from Molzu. Do we have that? Yes, we do. Perfect, so that's our initial down here. Now, with that out of the way, let's go back into the init page, nav aids, and there is nothing hard-tuned from the previous crew or the engineers. Now let's go for our weights, and we do need our load sheet for that. So we have 184 exactly and 31.3. So that's 184 and 31.3. The fuel is, let's see, 75.5. Passengers 348. And then we can enter the custom fuel figures down here as well, which are 0.4. And I really don't think it's going to be more than that, since we have a pretty short taxi today. The alternate fuel is 4.5. And the final reserve is 2.6, so that's quite a bit. Alright, route reserves 3%. And yeah, I don't trust the extra down here. That is gonna go up in flight. I'm fairly sure about that. Alright then, takeoff performance. We can simply send that from here. So send to FMS and confirm. Alright, that is looking good. Engine out acceleration will be in 3,500. Then we can check the climb page, and auto derate is selected. Position monitor, we're going off LEMD 36 left. Perfect, so with that entered, let's go down here onto the fix info page. And here again we have LEMD 36 left. Now we need to know the runway track. So let's have a look into the charts. And for that we need the airport chart. Over here, and the runway track is exactly 360. Perfect. So radial 360. Alright, then onto the secondary. Import active. Flight plan. Engine outset is easy, straight at 25 miles. So that's gonna be LEMD 36 left / 360 / 25. Here we go, PBD is created, then we enter the holding, exactly like this, and then we can enter a new destination, back to Madrid. And the arrival over here is going to be an ILS approach runway 32 left. Like that. Alright, now I don't know why you are here. Delete, thank you. And the last thing we've got to do is to enter our step climbs. And for this, we have flight level 360 at Delta Kilo Hotel. So 360. Then next we have flight level 380 at Samba. So we gotta find that one from the list, I suppose. Here we go. Sonva, flight level 380. Enter, and last but not least, we have flight level 400 at Ambat. So Ambat and flight level 400. Enter. Alright, now let's go on insert over here, check the fuel and load page, and look at that, 3.8 tons, 44 minutes extra. That's pretty much exactly what we loaded, if you remember. Alright, wonderful. So that's our FMS setup completed. So last thing here on the ATC com page, ATC is connected, message record is checked, erased, and ATIS request. Let's just make sure we have the latest weather on board. And Madrid, 360 at 4, slightly variable, 10 degrees, 1017. Yeah, that's perfect. Alright, wonderful. Transponder is on standby, and that's it. Then let's go up here, ensure that we've got the QNH set. Can set up our EFIS control panel. Initial climb to, let's see what's on the chart here. Victor Tango Bravo 6 Lima, maintain 13,000. Here it is, and last but not least, your side is set up as well. Okay, beautiful. Then let's go into the plan mode and cross-check our SID. So that looks a little complex here. Initially, we go straight at Sierra, Sierra, Yankee. Then a left turn, Mike Oscar, or Mike Delta, 012, maximum 210 above 5,400, 041 above 6,400, max 220, and then we've got Barajas VOR above 12,000, that's good, and Victor Tango Bravo above 13,000, that looks good as well. Alright, perfect, so our SID is checked, and with all of those good things out of the way, I suppose we can go right into the departure briefing, please. Alright, perfect, so we're departing Madrid, runway 36 left. We have the Villa Toba 6 Lima departure, initial 13,000, and the MSA on this one is 10,000 feet. For our extra fuel and time, we have 40 minutes in the form of 3.6 tons. Okay, thank you very much. I don't see any hotspots for the taxi routing today. Our takeoff is overweight. We are around, yeah, like 50 tons too heavy by the time that we would come back for a landing, so we've got to pay careful attention. Do we want to make an immediate return? Do we want to pick up a holding, which I really don't want today? We don't have a fuel dumping system installed on this aircraft, so chances are we are just going to come back, read the overweight landing procedure, and if things are time critical, I have already prepared the secondary for an immediate return to runway 32 left, and then we just start the APU, ensure APU bleed is on so that we have additional thrust available from the engines, and that's it. In terms of specials, we gotta pay attention to our speed restrictions today. 210 on the first turn, that means we can retract the flaps into the 1 position, and then 220 for the second turn. For that, I'm just gonna retract them completely. I don't care about those 3 knots down here. Alright, threats? Well, not really. And that's it. Okay then, perfect. Before start checklist down to the line, please. And while we are doing that, you can already grab GSX and prepare for pushback, please. Is it doing it? No. Now it's doing it. Alright, before start checklist down to the line. Gear pads and covers, removed. Fuel quantity, 75.5 tons. Takeoff data, set. Barrel ref, QNH 1017. Before start checklist complete down to the line. Alright. Buenos dias, senoritas, from the flight deck. This is your captain speaking. My name is Emmanuel, and in the name of Iberia, welcome aboard our Airbus A350 on this flight to Rio de Janeiro. We expect a flight time of 10.5 hours today at initially 35,000 feet and later on climbing up to 40,000 feet altitude. We do expect some turbulence every now and then on this flight. For this reason, we like to ask you to remain seated with your seatbelt fastened, even if the fasten seatbelt sign is turned off, and there is no urgent reason to stand up on today's flight. Thank you very much for being our guests. Sit back, relax, and enjoy the flight with us, and we will get back to you with the latest weather information when we start our approach into Rio de Janeiro. Thank you very much for your attention, and once again, welcome on board. Ground from flight deck? Go ahead. So please confirm all doors and hatches are closed, ground equipment is removed, and bypass pin is installed. That's all confirmed. Thank you. Then we are getting IFR clearance. I'm just entering some random squawk over here, because why not? And then we are ready to disconnect all the ground equipment and ready for pushback when you are. Roger, thank you. Cabin crew, all doors in flight. Okay, before start checklist below the line. Doors closed, parking brake set, before start checklist complete. Okay, ground flight. Yeah, go ahead. So we're clear to push, facing north, and the parking brake is set. Roger, release brakes. Parking brake released, and we are standing by for your clearance to start the engines. Roger. So you might have noticed I'm pushing towards the north rather than to the south, even though the runway threshold is just about here. That's because I think it's a little bit more efficient just to take this exit over here to the runway, because in the real world there would probably be aircraft standing over here as well. So that's kind of my idea behind this. Obviously in the simulator where you don't have any traffic over here, that wouldn't have played a role, but that's just a little bit of background as to why I'm doing it this way. Okay, so clear start engines 1 and 2. Okay, waiting for those 10 seconds. And here we go, engine 1 start. Why is the ramp agent like walking underneath the aircraft? If she slips over there and the tug goes over her, someone needs to do the computer-based training for safety at their workplace again, huh? And I personally wouldn't recommend to walk that close to the engines either. Just in case. Unless you have a good life insurance and you really love your husband. Alright, pushback complete, set park and brake. Park and brake set, and we have a good start on 1, starting 2. Clear 2. Engine 2 start. So, number 1 is looking good indeed. And number 2 is starting up. So, what are they doing down here? Siesta. Not doing anything. Here we go. Removing the tug. Now, removing the pin. The wing walker over there. Yeah, okay. No comment on that. Alright, looking good. And then we have 2 good engine starts, clear disconnection from the pin on the left side. Please have a wonderful day. Bye-bye. So, config 2 takeoff today. We are not used to doing that, so a little bit of attention required there, that we don't mess it up. Okay. And the clear signal, yeah, she's leaving, that's fine. After start checklist. Anti-ice, off, after start checklist complete. Alright, clear left side, clear right side, taxi route is as briefed. Let's go. I think this is probably our heaviest takeoff in the A350 yet, at almost 260 tons. 259.4 is the final weight here. At this point, by the way, did we recalculate the takeoff performance for our current weight? Yeah, we did. Okay, that's fine. So, straight to the left, gate 13. And then we go to the left again via, I think it's November. And then into Zulu 1 for runway 36 left. Okay, brake check. Brakes okay. Look at that, it really needs some convincing to get moving today. Don't want to go above 30% N1 here. It really needs some power, look at that. We're at 35% now just to keep moving at 5 knots. You can feel the 2,000 feet elevation of Madrid. Can really feel those. Okay, that looked like a little bump on the ground here. Let's hope that we are not going to stop on that one. No, actually we don't even feel it. Okay, fine with me. So I have no changes to the takeoff briefing. Let's do a flight control check. Full up. Full down. Neutral. Full left. Full right. Neutral. And we know the rudder works, so that's fine with me. Alright, before takeoff checklist down to the line, please. Flight controls, checked. Flight instruments, checked. Briefing, confirmed. V1, VRB2, and flex temp. So that's 162, 165, 170, flex 44. And squawk, set before takeoff checklist complete down to the line. So next to the right, Bravo November 1, and then we are straight at the runway. So, takeoff with the ANF is not allowed. Landing is. Well, and then we are pretty much ready to go. So, cleared for lineup and takeoff, runway 36 left. Cabin crew, prepare for departure. And before takeoff checklist below the line. Takeoff runway, 36 left, full length. Cabin crew, advised, packs off before takeoff checklist complete. So weather isn't really a, well, yeah, might be a factor, okay. I'm gonna go into weather, you're gonna go into terrain, because the cumulus up here is less of a factor than the cumulus granitus that we have just over there. Okay, are you ready? Take off. Looks like our takeoff flight path is clear. Manflex 44 SRS, auto thrust blue. Thrust set. Knots. Very high takeoff speeds here. Now imagine doing this in summer with an even higher TAS effect.
V1.
Rotate. Positive climb. Gear up. Nav. Checked. So, Sierra Sierra Yankee is a flyover point above 2,400. We have those. Thrust decline, climb, auto thrust. Flaps 1. Speed checked. Flaps 1. A little bit of weather everywhere. Nothing significant though. You can see I'm flying it a little bit around the flight director. That's just because I kinda want to make things a bit smoother for our passengers. pretty much like this. So, automatic flap retraction from config 1 plus F and in config 1 at 210 knots. You can see that really increases our pitch, since the flaps are what bring the pitch down. Okay, looking very good. So, I like that one. I kind of prefer to hand fly it a little bit even, it's just fun. But okay, for the time being, we have climb thrust, so we can cancel the timer, and then we can do the after takeoff checklist down to the line. Actually, we can't because the flaps are still out. See, in one of my recent videos I said that whenever you have things like these going, you know, a little bit out of line, that kind of stuff happens. Alright, engine anti-ice on. Engine anti-ice is on. Okay, so flap 0, speed checked. Flaps 0. Okay, autopilot 1. Here we go. So, we are breaking through the clouds, getting clear of all this, and finally we are back up in the sun. That's how we love it. Now, look at this. The airplane actually flew 223 knots rather than 220, which is correct behavior here. So, very good to see that IndyBuild has gotten that correctly, because we have seen one or the other Airbus in flight simulation days that did not really get that right. So, after takeoff checklist down to the line, after takeoff checklist down to the line complete. Now the big question, can we make our altitude restriction 12,000 over Barajas? And according to the FMS, we'll make it just about by 870 feet, but we'll make it, that's all we need to know. So we just gotta keep an eye down here on the predicted crossing altitude for Bravo Romeo Alpha, as we want to make sure that once we start accelerating here above 10,000, we will really still be able to make that. If the aircraft starts to get into problems there making that altitude restriction, that's not going to be a problem at all, because we will just be able to go to selected speed, then get the nose up a little bit, and that's it. But if the FMS says we can do it, then we can probably do it. So let's continue our climb, 20,000 at first, lights off. We'll keep the signs on since we are going through something that definitely looks turbulent over here and out here. We can have the weather radar now already. So something like that. Normally it's good if one pilot has a small range, the other pilot has a large range, so that normally on the pilot flying side you can really see the details, and then on the pilot monitoring side you can see the big picture. Okay, so no nav aids tuned, and we have an optimum 356, maximum 360, so 35 is a good cruising altitude for us for the time being. and probably will remain so, because even once the maximum and the optimum reach 360 and 370 respectively, I really want that maximum to go up a couple hundred feet. But I think things are looking pretty good over here. Alright, the transition altitude is at 13,000. When we pass that, we are going to set our altimeters to standard and complete the after takeoff checklist. But for the time being, by the way, look at this, Bravo Romeo Alpha, overhead just now, roughly at 12,000, so I'm happy to accept that. But this is exactly what I kind of expected to happen over here. So yeah, we can say 12,000 over the VOR, that's fine. But that's exactly what I expected here, that due to the acceleration, we might end up a little bit lower over the VOR than initially expected. The FMS locked 11,870, that's fine. We'll just put that down onto position uncertainty. Okay, so a couple more clouds to cross, so we are going to keep the anti-ice on. And then set standard. Standard cross-check, passing flight level 131. Now, after takeoff checklist below the line. Barrel ref, standard set, after takeoff checklist complete. Well, my friends, and with that, let's go ahead and speed this one up, and I see you a little bit later when we start our approach into Rio de Janeiro. Everyone, we are slowly approaching the top of descent. Apparently the aircraft cannot really decide where it actually wants to place the top of descent, as it is jumping a little bit back and forth here. But we have 147 miles now according to the now calculated top of descent, while the remaining total distance is 247, so that seems a little bit too far out. So we'll probably have to start the descent a tiny bit earlier here. Actually, if we look into our start, just over here, we see Doctor below level 280. Look at that, now it's recalculated. Now the TD jumped to 80 miles from our present position. That's, yeah. We'll just let it do that, and we might just start the descent manually then, if needed. Look at that, now it tells me top of descent reached. Yeah, I doubt it. We'll just let it do that. So, I just updated the latest weather, but let's go ahead and do that update again and see what we're going to get. And here we are, the wind 140 at 14, 32 degrees, QNH 1015. So let's go ahead and dial that one up. 1015 set once and twice. Now runway 10 seems to be the active runway. So let's go ahead and have a look into our arrival. So we're planned on the Utbot to Alpha arrival. Let's see where we can find that one. So, Utbom to Alpha, here it is. And that's leading us via a couple of those on-off waypoints, all the way down to Almos, and then from there into a downwind for eventual radar vectoring towards the runway. In general, I find the airport in Rio has quite an interesting layout here, with runway 10 and runway 15. Now, 10 is the longer runway, but it would give us quite a lot more taxi routing, while you have runway 15 over here that's a little bit straighter in, if you know what I mean with that. Now, for our flight today, I am probably gonna go onto runway 15, so let's go ahead and reprogram that arrival. That should make things a little bit easier as well. So let's see down here what kind of approaches we have available, and yeah, I straight away see the ILS Zulu, so that's about all we need. So let's go ahead and just reprogram this. First things first though, I am going to do a backup of the active flight plan, because I had it remove my flight plan once already, if you remember the Cape Town flight. So let's go ahead and reprogram this stuff, and Molzu transition, and we can take the via Utbom. Alright, temporary flight plan, let's go to heading. Insert, and that looks good. So let's do direct to Molzu once again, and now let's see what VNAV is going to come up with. Yeah, that top of descent looks alright over there. That looks quite alright. Alright, that's believable. So let's accept that as our correct top of descent. Fine, now with that entered, we can pin the ILS Zulu chart for runway 15. We have already pinned the Utbom to Alpha arrival, and I have also pinned the airport and the parking charts. Well, and that's going to be all we need. So from here on, let's quickly review our star. So, from Molzo we proceed towards Dokto below flight level 280, then via waypoint 06 between level 190 and 220, waypoint 014 between 190 and 200, then we've got waypoint 016 between 150 and 190, on towards Surna above 130, waypoint 017 below level 120, Gixo above 7000, and then towards Utbom above 6400. And from there we are going to join the ILS approach onto runway 15, and that one starts at Utbom 6400. Let's bring that range down a little bit. Then we continue via Dobk, which we actually don't have on here. That's interesting. But in any case, we've got Akbat 3300, that matches, and then we have Robol, which is at 1710, down to the minimum, and then in case of a missed approach, climb to 5000, to the left, course 119 towards Opcap, then maintain course 115 for holding over Sissa. Well, and that looks kinda like it. So Opcap, Utcom, waypoint 079. Interesting that we see this on the chart over there, but not in the textual description up there. But I'm happy with it the way it is in here. So initially 4,000 at waypoint 079 and then 5,000 at scissor. And since we are going to do that managed, we can just dial in 5,000 and have an easy life. Okay, so that good stuff is all in there. Then let's do some landing performance. We can synchronize the FMS up here and synchronize the weather. It's a dry runway. We can probably go config full over here. Let's calculate auto brake medium and hit compute. 1214 meters of stop margin, very nice. And then onto the performance pages. The descent page is looking good like this. The approach page can be filled with the latest weather, so that let's dial that one up. So the wind 140 at 14, so pretty much direct headwind. Then we have 32 degrees and the QNH of 1015. So the minimum is 370. Like that. We are rather heavy today, even though that landing weight is definitely not correct. But yeah, looking up here, we're at 200 tons right now, and look at our fuel on board. It looks like, for some reason, we have quite a lot more than I actually anticipated to have at this point. But okay. Well, so, very high V approach then, but that's fine, as already discussed. Transition altitude 7,000, the QNH is 1015, so our transition level will be 80. Let's enter that down here as well. And then on the go-around page, we basically need our engine out acceleration altitude. As you can see in the missed approach area, 5,000 is the MSA, so I am going to use 5,000 here for the engine out acceleration as well. Okay, perfect. So, position monitor, SBGL15, enter. And that's pretty much it. Alright, so then let's go on to the ANF and prepare our brake to vacate. Needs a little while to load, and here we go. So runway 15 is selected as our landing runway. And then I do believe we're parking somewhere over here, so let's go ahead and select yeah, Echo 1 for the BTV exit. So that's 1,842 meters. Runway occupancy time 65 seconds, that's fine. And auto brake is selected. Alright, and something that I recently learned is if you want to use the ANF on the other side as well, you gotta do that in flight, because on the ground it doesn't want to load that anymore, since it doesn't have a flight plan in the FMS anymore. Just to have that in mind. Alright, so with all those basics discussed, let's go ahead and do the approach briefing, please. And for that we can change over to the right-hand seat. Alright, so the plan is to follow, let's see what that arrival is called again, the Utbom 2 Alpha arrival. The MSA in the approach area is going up rather steeply, so we're looking at flight level 95 up here in the north, where we are approaching from. And the approach itself will be an ILS Zulu approach, runway 15. Minimum 370, vacating the runway to the left-hand side, and we have extra fuel and time. Yeah, of 1.5 hours. We certainly saved far too much fuel over here. But alright, that's fine, we'll just take it like that. Alright, perfect. So, for the approach itself, our plan, flight director guided, manually flown approach, landing config full, stop margin, some 1200 meters-ish. Reversers will be used, and we will use BTV to vacate to the left towards the terminals. I don't have any hotspots for the taxi in and no special or non-standard operations here. Do you see any threats for the arrival? Yeah, terrain. I do agree with that. The weather is good, so I tell you what, let's just go over to the terrain display just now. So terrain over here, and yeah, I can go into the terrain as well. You can see the weather over here, there's nothing significant in there. And that's it. Any questions? No? Perfect. Then I suggest we are going to do the briefing, or rather, brief the passengers. Senora, senoritas from the flight deck, this is your captain speaking. In the next couple of moments we will start our descent towards Rio de Janeiro. Remaining flight time is approximately half an hour, and the weather over there very nice with few clouds and a temperature of 32 degrees. Thank you very much for choosing Iberia for today's flight. We hope you enjoyed it as much as we did, and we look forward to welcoming you again on board of a future flight. Thank you very much for your attention, and we wish you a very nice day of applicable and nice and safe continuous journey. Alright, back on 1. And then we can already do the approach checklist. Down to the line, please. Briefing confirmed. Minimum Barrow 370. Approach checklist completed. Down to the line. Alright then, let's fast forward a little bit again, and I see you in the approach. We're passing 10,000. The sun is slowly setting down, but we will make our landing just prior to sunset. Now, you can see we are currently a little bit above the profile. That's because our aircraft just couldn't follow the published descent profile of the star very well. It just doesn't have enough drag. So, for that reason, I got the speed brakes out. Now for now, set QNH. QNH 1015 cross-check, passing 8,200. Now. Alright, 10,000. Lights on, signs on, and EFIS CPs are set. Alright, approach checklist below the line, please. Barrow ref, QNH 1015. Approach checklist completed. Okay, we are back on profile, so our speed brake is coming back in. And that's it. Now let's set the altitude down to 3,300, from where we are going to intercept the final. And interesting to see here that we actually end up above the glide slope. Now we are 21 miles out, so 7,000 feet seems pretty accurate. We do have a tailwind of a couple knots though, and we still gotta lose some airspeed. So you can see the profile of the star really takes us in very, very high. Which makes it interesting. But nothing that our speed brake could solve, so I'm not worried about this at all. Let's go select its speed over here, start reducing a bit. Let's do 210. Speed brake coming out, so that we can actually start reducing. Because we're now 18 miles out, and we are quite a bit above the profile. AKA, we should be below the glide. And we're still rather fast as well. But that's the profile that the star has in stock for us. Not a lot that we can actually do about this. For that reason, speed brake, and down we go. Luckily that works really well here. So just like any Airbus, they've built a super good speed brake into the aircraft, which makes it easy to capture any profiles from above. Okay, block blue. It should switch over any moment. Here we go, lock star. Okay, flaps 1. Speed checked, flaps 1. Amazing views, aren't they? Okay, so we are slowly closing in on the glide slope. We're about 10 miles out now, so gear down. And then let's go down to 1700. Or technically speaking 1800. Just above the final approach fix over here. So do note that the DME is not entirely accurate. We can see up here that we are only about, yeah, maybe 8 miles out.
Come 2,500.
Come on. Will you intercept that profile, please? Okay. I've seen enough. Flight director's off. Alright, speed brake going back in already. We are below the profile now, that's all we need. Okay, intercepting the glide now. Flaps 2. Set go around altitude. 5,000 feet set. And yeah, not sure why the approach button was still armed there. Certainly shouldn't have been. Okay, flaps 3. And flaps full. Manual thrust. And landing checklists. So, cabin crew, advised, auto thrust, off, auto brake, BTV,
1,000.
runway condition, dry, landing checklist complete, and we are, yeah, pretty much stable. This is really where our first officer would come in handy so that we don't have to do this. But the real... No speed? You are right within VLS. So the real 1000 foot gate is only at 1000 on the barometric altimeter. And as you can see, that's looking pretty good. So we are stabilized at 1000. So, a little turbulent here. Wow, these are quite some downdrafts here. Look at how much thrust we need just to keep that aircraft halfway on that glide. Ground Speed Mini is doing some work over here. You can see how the V approach is really moving around. Checked.
400. Minimum 300.
Continue. See that speed? That's why I didn't chase the GS Mini too aggressively
100.
previously.
50, 40, 30, 20, 10.
Spoilers, reverse green, BTV. So, that was definitely an interesting one. That's the kind of landing that I like. 70 knots. Manual brakes. And with that, welcome to Rio de Janeiro. It's been a while since I've approached this airport. Must have been the tropical sim scenery back in P3D when I've landed here for the last time. But it certainly was a nice approach. And I have to say, the Asobo handcrafted airport isn't that bad. Quite the opposite. The handcrafted one is actually okay. Alright then. Temperature above 30, gonna keep the flaps in 1. And then after landing checklist, please. Yeah, after landing checklist complete, as we can disregard the flaps. Interesting, they have a maximum wingspan 36 meters over here, but didn't have that in the opposite direction. Oh well, I'm not gonna complain. So, parking down here stands 71, I believe. Let's see what GSX has to say about it. Gate. Is that Alpha? I really don't know. '71. So, it won't offer me a handling operator, it seems. Oh god, GSX is so annoying. No follow me needed, handling by Nata. Okay, lights off, APU is available. Awesome. Then next to the left. How much further do you want us? I'm stopping here. That's getting too close to the tuck. Alright, shutdown 1 and 2. Cabin crew, all doors in park. Okay then. So, lights off, signs off, fuel pumps off. You can see how the yellow electric hydraulic pump has turned on automatically up here, because the ground staff are already opening the cargo doors. Things going fast today. Alright, parking checklist. External lights are set, parking brake set, radar standby, parking checklist complete. Alrighty then, let's have a look at the fuel page, see how much we've used. 61.3. Now let's see down here on the OFP how much we should have used. 64.2. So we saved like 3 tons of fuel. I wonder how we did that. 9 hours 57 versus 10 hours 16. Okay. 20 minutes equals around 2,000 kilos fuel. So that would have been 63. So still 1,000 kilos discrepancy there. I think we can safely say that the Inibuild 350 uses less fuel than what the SimBrief profile suggests. I think I'm gonna try to fly with 0 performance factor next time. Because as you can see over here, there's a 3% performance factor on the Inibuild 350 profile. But we are certainly gonna try 0 for the next one. In any case, guys, I hope you enjoyed this one. Leave your feedback in the comments underneath the video. And as always, if you did like the flight, Be sure to like, comment and subscribe, and if you really love what I'm doing on the channel, I would appreciate a small donation through the Buy Me Coffee link in the video description below. Thank you very much for watching. Now we're going to the hotel, enjoying beautiful Brazil, and then I'm looking forward to see you all again on the next one.